Since Eve Echoes launched over a year ago at this point, farming story missions has been one of the most consistent and safest ways to make ISK. Now, with the advent of scanning and all of the back and forth and the chaos that ensued, that changed a little bit. But now we're back to a point where most story mission runners feel safe and they're able to, again, make some really good money doing it. But today, what I want to do is I want to turn that on its head, and I want to help you guys start making some ISK by farming the mission runners. Let's undock and get started. Like I said earlier, mission running is a great way to make some ISK. You can buy the missions, you can run them. Those prices have gone down because less people are doing them because of the new risk of scanning. But you can still make a very healthy living doing it. And even though scanning is a very prevalent thing, I actually did make a video about how to stay safe still running missions a couple of months ago. And so it's only fair that now we talk about how to hunt those people, right? So with all that being said, there is a ship that can handle all of this and has been very effective for me in actually hunting. And that's going to be the Bellicose II Covert Ops. Now, I'm going to throw some of the kills up on the screen here from what I've gotten over the last week or so. I've gotten about 5.5 billion in kills, about 700 and I think it was 780 million in loot, and I've lost 2 ships that with insurance cost me around 200 million. So it's been a pretty good return on investment. It's definitely a high risk, high reward, but I'm really also enjoying this, and it's been a lot of fun to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. Now, if you've ever watched any kind of Eve Echoes video, you've probably seen the here's the fit and here's how we do this. And to some extent, we're going to talk about that. But to be honest, this video is more about the tactics and techniques that you're going to need to use and the mindset that you're going to have in order to be able to pull off some of these encounters. To address the first concern of a lot of points of stabilization, the Bellicose II has 4 mid slots, so we're able to get a pretty decent amount of disruption on and still have room for some extra E-War. It's also one of the fastest cruisers in the Covert Ops line of ships, and so it's able to still effectively speed tank, and especially when we're getting in close and we're going to be in scram range with an afterburner, being able to just be a little bit faster can be the difference between life and death. And then in order to counter the final advantage of position and distance, we're able to use the Covert Ops capabilities and the Covert Ops cloak to get into the story runner's mission without them knowing we are there, to position ourselves with a Celestial and warp in at the exact range that we want so that we can actually land and immediately engage at our optimal distances. What we're going to be doing here is we're actually going to be carrying a lot of things in our hold, because what I want to do is I want to be able to, again, warp into those anomalies, see what type of weapons, see what type of range my enemy is engaging at, and then fit my ship accordingly. If I'm going to be looking at a drone ship, for example, I'm going to likely want to throw on a red hardener and a yellow hardener, because yellow hardeners are fantastic against drones, and maybe just the NOS for E-War and like a shield booster. If I'm going up against something else that's maybe more like a tornado or a tempest or something like that, I may want to go with more E-War and more damage so that I can, again, be trying to burn these things down as quickly as possible. And again, I'm going to be relying on my speed to help me stay alive instead of the actual tank of the ship. So with that being said, let's jump in here and let's talk about exactly how this actually looks. In this example, I've got a prophecy that I've scanned down. You'll see that I'm in the anomaly, and I'm looking at him to see, again, where he's positioned and what is the range and the distance that I'm going to need to warp at. Now, once I've got this, I will warp out. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward here. You'll see that I'm in here. I'm switching up my fit. I did use the Bellicose I in this instance. You'll see it works just fine. But I'm able to go ahead and swap that fit out quickly. You can preload these if you want, or just do them on the fly. I've started to do these just on the fly because there's a lot of different combinations that I've found I use, and it's just easier sometimes to just go ahead and do that. The other thing is I do go ahead and drop all of my extra mods into the item hanger in case I lose the ship. This is not because I'm worried about the ISK, but more just it's a pain to actually go back and try to figure out what I'm missing and what I need to put back. So I just have started just dumping everything in the hangar and being able to kind of pick it up later if I do die. Now, you'll notice that I did unequip the scanner here. You are able to warp back to a spot after you have scanned it down. you simply cannot jump into a new system and try to scan, obviously, if you don't have a scanner. When I do warp back, I'm warping at range. I'm trying to land on top of, or as close to on top of, the enemy ship as possible so that I can immediately lock them up and have them in scram range. It's important to note here that if you are not in scram range and they have a micro warp drive on, you are likely not going to be fast enough to catch them. I know in my Tornado, if I have a medium micro warp drive on, I do fly at about 1800 meters per second. If you are flying in a cruiser like this and they get outside of range, they will likely be able to burn away, and you will have a hard time either getting away or catching up to them because your max speed is really only about 1300 kilometers per second. Now, the other thing to be aware of here is that as you are looking at the type of fit that you want to put on here, again, you may want to consider whether you need an extender or a booster. I personally like using a booster if I'm fighting a battleship because I know that's going to be a longer fight. Versus if I'm fighting a battle cruiser, a lot of times I can get that down quickly enough that I'm okay with using the extender. The other thing that I want to call out here is that as you are engaging with these ships, if you are fighting something like a Dominix and you know that it's going to take you a while, you need to be targeting those drones and killing them. I think it's called defanging in EVE Online. Similar idea here, you're just targeting and killing those drones. If you really wanted to be a little bit more effective against these drones, you could put on a target painter or a web. I found that I was killing these things just fine without those, so I just kind of kept them on. But again, you're keeping that orbit, you're keeping your speed up, and then being able to take those drones out. I probably did like 60 million damage in drones just in this one encounter. So again, just something to think about and just be aware of as you're watching this fight. Now, the other thing that I did find kind of funny here is I did get scanned a couple of times as I was fighting this Dominix. I think that most people saw a Bellicose and a Dominix and figured we were working together. They said, I don't want to deal with that. That's a pretty hefty combination. I don't think anybody thought that I was dumb enough to actually attack a Dominix, which was really kind of funny to me. But it worked out well. This was an amazing fight. You guys can see here I was down on cap. I think he had to be pretty much empty on cap as well. He probably could have warped out because I think I lost the cap to run the scrams at one point. But I think we were both pretty invested and just didn't want to deal with it at that point. Now, this is a very high risk, high reward type of fight because while it is amazing to be able to see some of these kill mails, the fact of the matter is that it's very easy to die if you don't do it right or if you are caught out of position or anything like that. So again, just be aware, be looking at your risk, be picking your fights very carefully, know what you can and can't take. I personally have struggled when I've had to fight like a Drake or a Raven, even with rapid missile launchers. You can see what type of missiles they're running by doing the observe and then counting how long it takes between shots. If it's about 4 seconds, then that's going to be rapid missiles. They have a higher explosion velocity and a faster firing speed. So again, those can do a lot of damage, be very, very painful. So just think about what you're doing, tailor your build. You can put some extra E-War on, you can put some extra tank on if you need, but just be thinking about those because those will definitely make a difference in terms of what you're able to do and not do. That's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. As always, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you are doing this type of PvP as well, let me know down in the comments below what kind of ships you guys are running. I'd love to try some other stuff out. I'm having a lot of fun with the Bellicose, but I want to try like the Celestis and some other stuff too. So let me know what you guys are using, and I'm just really looking forward to continuing to explore and try different strategies and tips. So I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much. Have a great night. And until next time, fly safe.